What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, bringing you a journey over to Africa as I leave damn Erica, put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, damn Erica, and begin to show our brothers and sisters the easy way of life, the life that we really are missing out on. I know many of you all have been overworked, underpaid. I'm over here in the airport right now, but many of us are overworked, underpaid. Many of us can't even, have a sense of financial liberties and freedoms that was told us, going to colleges, getting degrees, and we find that, minimums or maximum amount of pays that we are receiving are $50,000, $60,000 a year. And many of us are strapped to really a way of living that we will always work to our last breath. And many are fortunate to live to, mid 70s, 80s, 90s, are going to find they're going to have to work to the very end. My fear of leaving America is people like you, my children, loved ones and friends who don't see what I see, who don't haven't experienced what I've experienced. And though that I know everybody has their own experience, people are happy where they are. People are satisfied. But I'm here when my channel is to, one, educate and to bring an awareness of my 57 years of what I've come to learn, what I've come to experience, what I've come to find out, what the truth of the matters of life really is. I know we have gotten caught into many of society's governments that have dictated what life should be and will be about. And, I was born in Africa, Libya to be exact. My dad was military, but for the most part, I have lived in many countries, but education-wise, through my schooling years, it's been majority of America. The way we were taught, the way we were indoctrinated, has really been a trap to many of us. Whether it's through our educations of higher education, whether it's through our societal groups and our associations that we might be affiliated with, whether it's through your religious groups and stuff, all of this has been really laid out for you in order for you to drift and go into, in order to have a society that will not rise up and push out against what they would call society norms. And, if you really look at most countries, revolutions have been pretty big, and I'm not calling for people to revolt against American society. American society is ran by people. It's just sad that many people who are running the country are the far few in between than the poor man, the average man. These are people who have the wealth and the power to be able to shake and rock and rattle and roll things along to benefit themselves and their children. And this is where I speak out when it comes to really the traps of life that our people, when I say our, I'm talking about brothers and sisters, it's the brown, the melanated, the black, if you will. Because we suffer the worst when it comes to living in Western societies. It's just statistics show that. Statistics show how we are at the bottom of everything. It's not me saying that. That's their stats that show that. We lag in education. We lag in business opportunities. We lag in housing opportunities. We lag in financial freedoms. We lag in almost everything that you can imagine. And it's sad that I see that even in the black culture, how far it has fallen. And this is one of the fears. And not a fear of I'm just shaking in my boots, but a fear for you. Because as I begin to try to share with people, how to equip and build themselves in something beyond than just this world's way of thinking, I try to go to a greater, higher thinking. You know, it took me almost 40 something years. I'm 57 now, but it took me almost 40 something years to understand this creator that I speak of. Not what they said God is or Jesus is or what the Bible try to describe. No, I had to find out for myself. And then I had to then be able to link up, link in, and link out of this society that we so wholeheartedly love. We call ourselves all these different proverbs and we call ourselves these different names that who really isn't us. We attach ourselves to things that we wholeheartedly believe that is us. You know, whether you want to call yourself American, whether you want to call yourself a football fan, baseball fan, basketball fan, whether you want to call yourself part of sorority or fraternities, whether you want to call yourself, you know, a Boy Scout or Girl Scout, whether you want to call whatever you want to call yourself, you identify and trap yourself. It actually takes you from your higher being because it limits you. Now, I won't scoff at America because America is ran by those who actually have molded it and shaped it into where it is today. It has nothing to do with many of us who have been brought over to a country out of Africa, and yet we have submitted, we have subscribed to a ways of life. Submitting and subscribing to ways of life that really have bounded us, and really this short life we live in, will only be a life that has been controlled by those. I don't care if you call yourself, label yourself, identify yourself with anything. You need to understand it wasn't you who did it. It was your society who did it. Many people think there's something that they've invented. They didn't invent anything. You know, I say this right here. People think that the gangs created Bloods and the Crips. No, the government created the Bloods and the Crips. Do you not find it interesting when we talk about colors? Whether you want to talk about Democrats and Republicans being the red or the blue, you want to talk about the Bloods and the Crips, which is the red and the blue, whether you want to talk about taking the blue pill or taking the red pill, whether you want to talk about the American flag, whether you want to talk about United flag, whether you want to talk about this plane that has red and white and blue on it, whether you want to talk about these things that associate, or these things that you have identified with that have been created by a society of menaced people. Whether you want to call yourself gay, trans, bi, lesbian, other, whether you want to call yourself black, African, whatever, these names and things have really bounded us. Some people say, well, why is your channel called Go Black to Africa? Because I understand there is a universal name that has been accepted that only those who I know that we've all subscribed to this, that is a so-called identifier for those to see that it's pertaining, the message pertaining to them. That's where you start to get in the middle, and you could just tell her that, like, you couldn't even talk. You know, to live a free life is to break out of the society norms. You know, what we see in society today is everybody, whether you want to get tattoos, whether you want to color your hair, whether you want to get piercings, whether you want to, you know, wear a jersey, whether you want to, everybody seems, the majority of people out here seems like they want to be noticed. They want to be heard. People will go and buy Gucci's and Louis Vuittons, and they'll buy all this to identify themselves. It's a shameful, it is a depressing, view of how I see how people are robotically operating in life. You know, many argue the fact about Christ. You know, whether Christ was real or not. You know, I submit to the spirit of Christ. I wasn't there. I don't know if he walked the earth. But one thing I love about this rebellious spirit against a worldly norm was that it told the people, don't follow them. There is a side of society, or on a spiritual side, it's called a kingdom, different world set, a different mindset, a different set of rules and laws and commandments than versus the world. And what I love about the mindset of a Christ is the fact that you can walk away free and take off the shackles from your mind, from what you've been entrapped in believing who you are. That's what society wants you to do. It wants you to connect and get yourself caught up into groups and associations, institutions, corporations, identifying, taking on the brands. You know how you walk around and you like to have your Louis Vuitton bag or your Gucci belt or your name brand shoes, your shirts, your hats, so that people can see in your mindset thinking you're worth something when you are worth no thing. There's a difference between nothing and no thing. This is where we have to wake up and realize that, who am I? When I took a ride over here to the airport and get into the van to drop off my rental car. They had to drive drive me and a couple of other people to the airport. And this young brother sitting there smoking weed. He's the driver and works smoking weed out of his pen. Playing rap music that was garbage. He didn't even have the sense to respect the customer. I fear for y'all. I fear for not just America, I fear for the whole world that is caught into this system of lies that have us bounded. So many since I've been back here in damn Erica, put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, damn Erica. I've been back here 3 months. And as I watched and observed, and I bit my tongue, I didn't even say nothing to that young man in that van. Why? Why? Typically I would have. I was too exhausted. I was too exhausted to say anything. And y'all, anybody know me? You know, I like to speak into somebody and hopefully they can grab a hold of a gold nugget and it can create some change in them. But I wasn't moved to. I have been to a point 3 months here. It wears you out. Now, people will not be able to understand what I'm saying because when I've traveled into different countries and worlds, many people can't understand what I'm saying when you come into America and you really weigh out what's going on. It's like those who live here, you're blinded. You just can't see it. You see business as usual. You see life as usual. You see everybody performing the way they've been performing from day in to day out. And I've seen that. People work hard every day. And they get up in the morning, they go work, they get off of work, they come home. Many are so stressed that they have to even self-medicate. They gotta smoke their weed. They gotta use their other drugs. They gotta use the alcohol. They got to use other means to be able to just escape the hustle bustle of today. When I was at the rental car place, they had said they had suspended a man, and they were like we don't need help. Why are they gonna suspend him now when we need his help? And they were backed up, and all that. And every place I've been around, majority of places I've been to, I see signs, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. And I talk to people who are working in these industries, and they're inundated, they're overworked. And then people quit the job, run to another job to try to find a little peace, a sense of mind, and try to get away from that. Just overworked and doing a work that 3 people should be doing and only 1 person's doing. And so when we see that people who can't contain themselves, and I see this, many people just can't see it and understand it when I say it. My children, My son's 35, my two daughters are 25 and 24. Working their way, trying to figure their way out, and, they're doing great. I had to even praise my children because of the fact that, sometimes, I'm a little hard, and I'm like, I don't give too many, accolades out. And it's because of the fact that I sometimes measure how I grinded back in the day just to get where I am at a financial freedom and a liberty to do what I do right now at the age of 57. I fully retired at the age of 47, so it's been 10 years. And when I see my children who don't have those opportunities that I had, to at least give them a chance to break away from a system and do your own thing, and I see that the road is going to be longer for them, I fear. Even when you watch your own children who sucked up into this world system, and you try to just bring a light just to open their eyes a little bit, and you try to show them, like, just come where dad is. Just come with me to Africa. And they all say they're going to come. But I understand they're limited with leave, which, you got to ask to take time off. You got to make arrangements. So I understand the chain is very short, and they have very little of leave to take, which in their mindset is like, well, if I go, I got to use up 2 weeks of my leave, and then that leaves me short for the rest what I want to do and travel. And I get it. They're trapped and they can't see it. But I say, I try to share with them. I try to share with you all. And you have to get out of the box. You must get out the box. If you don't get out of the box, the society that you're in, the culture you're in, the whether it's the religion, if you don't get out and go on a journey for yourself, because the road that has been laid for you had been laid thousands of years, and you've been walking into it. I'm saying you're going to have to get off that path. It don't have to be for long. It could be for a short duration in order for you to be able to have something to compare to. You see, when I've been to many countries and I sit down and break bread with local people, whether it's in South America, Central America, whether it's Africa countries, whether it is over in Eurasia, wherever I go, I like to sit and listen to a people in how they conduct their everyday lives. When I was over in Portugal, European country, my wife had to go to the doctor, right? And she had a little pain in her side, whatever. Went to the doctor, wanted to get some x-rays done. Well, come to find out, over in Portugal, their health is free, their education is free for all citizens. And though their taxes will eat up a foreigners' money coming in and trying to live there, because their taxes are brought into that, taking care of education and also in their health care. We talk about America being the greatest country, but when I travel and I see countries like Portugal, I see places like Canada, I see places like other countries that you see there have free education and health care. And people say America's the greatest country. America doesn't even supply that. My wife, even myself, when I'm doing our taxes, and I got to do them taxes, set money aside every month for taxes, 47%. Let me say this again, y'all. It disgusts me. Every month, 47% of our hard-earned working money goes into the hands of taxes. Do y'all remember there in Scripture? This is what the disciples said to Jesus, because we remember now, for those who don't know, in Scripture, I like the Scripture because it depicts what was going on back in the past of what we see today. And it actually has keys in how you can navigate through it. This is what a lot of people who debunk that and say, oh, it's white man's religion or it's made up. That has nothing to do with religion. What you have to be wise in understanding is that in every life situation, it's written. And how do you navigate through those situations? And how do you are able to approach it and be able to vision it, and how to be able to see how it's played out? It wasn't until I turned 28 years old and I subscribed to changing my life in a different way. And when I got into reading those scriptures, I started to see the similarities of what was going on back then and how it is today. But anyway, even in the time of Christ speaking, was speaking because the Romans were in control of many countries. They were the empire of all empires, like America is now the dragon right now in society. Rome had its day. His disciples asked him the question. He said, do we have to pay taxes? Because if you know the histories of back then, Rome heavily taxed all of the provinces that it controlled. And this was so hard on people that they couldn't stand it. And that was one of the biggest complaints. And so his disciple says, do we have to pay taxes? And this is what's the answer with Christ. I'm going somewhere with this. He said, look on that paper, or on that coin. It was a coin. Whose face is on it? And they said Caesar's face. And they said, well, you got to give to Caesar what's Caesar's, and you give to God what's God's. In saying that, this is why, my wife finally sees what I'm talking about, the expenses of living in a place that just takes almost 50% of your hard-earned money. And you still got to take care of your own education, you and your kids, and you got to take care of your own health care. Now, because I was military, I'm thankful that I get to use those benefits for as medical. But what about y'all? What about you all? Y'all got to pay $8, $9, depending on the size of the family, $100 a month for health insurance with a copay and a deposit. And then you try to move on. And then you try to go ahead and just make enough. Why am I saying all this? It's because when I talk about Africa, I've been to 33 countries in Africa. It touches me. Because where there are still some of those countries who have a Western, developing, thriving cities, and you can get in and fit in if that's what you want to do. Majority of those lands are simplistic ways of life. Too simple to even fathom. Because when I go in and I buy property and I say I'm going to shift from out of this place that I know that is just controlling so much of my profits or my money I've worked and saved hard for, I'm going to shift that. And I'm going to create a living, a lifestyle, an investment to be able to allow that to bring me much more without the woes of, many people that they say in the black community has $300 in savings to their name. This is a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, 50s. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you are buying a house, right? You got a mortgage on your house, and you think you're doing good. And then all of a sudden, one day comes where they raise the taxes, little by little, to where you find that the taxes become like a mortgage payment. And then you find that even your supposed Social Security that they claim is supposed to offset any retirement funds that you may have or 401k plans, that you think it's going to be able to sustain you. But at the rate of the expenses of what's the cost of living now, I fear for you. I really fear. I fear because many of y'all do not understand what's coming down the pipe. Many of y'all don't even fathom that when you're wasting your money on things that will eventually find its way in goodwill, which is another trap. Many of the things, when I say trap, goodwill, you know, I'm not going to go down there. They'll take your expensive goods and turn around and you think that what's on the floor is sold well. No, we're talking about the expensive things that are sold beyond, and you find them in other countries and stuff. But anyway, you go and buy all that you have. Every 4 years, you're buying a new car. And, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Everybody wants to look rich, but the bank accounts are poor. You sit back and you live this lifestyle only for today. When your tomorrows look bleak, when your tomorrows are in question, how do you continue to begin to support a system that is only there to suck more out of you? When out here in other countries, there are more liberties and freedoms, and to be able to establish and create a life that where you can live comfortably and rest assured that you can at least have a longevity further than what you're up against in the country that we see in some of these Western worlds. I know some of you all, I've run to many of you all, people think because you got a car and a house, you've achieved something. You live in a nice neighborhood, your kids go to the white schools, you go send them over to the private schools, and you think that you've achieved something. But all you've done really is send them right back into a trap where you are, reestablishing a life that they're going to have to go ahead and work, make ends meet, and then, try to figure out how they're going to do for their children. And then they're going to repeat that cycle. You see, I wanted to break the doggone cycle. I was tired of just doing the same old. When I woke up and realized when I had retired from the military and I had my businesses, I asked myself the question, how much more money do I need? I'm getting up every day, busting my tail, and yet this idea that I'm supposed to work for the rest of my life, I'm supposed to work till 65 and retire, I had to ask myself some serious hard questions. Who said I had to work until retirement? Who said I had to work for somebody? This education system that we go through, they don't talk about investing in yourself, entrepreneurships. They don't talk about international investing and, going outside the land you are and finding opportunities that can build you and your family's, kingdom and another option for an escape out of a system that might be taking way more than it should from you. They don't educate you on that. They tell you, educate your children, send them to college so they can become workers. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with education. But the mere education, the way they sell it, is though that it's the only way for one to take care of themselves. Somebody said, I need $10 million and I will stop working immediately. You don't need $10 million. You just don't know how to count money. You don't know how to use money. See, we think money is only for the means of spending. Money should be used to open and bring opportunities. See, they told you. Let me just say it right. Do you know why America is the #1 top country in the world? We are the largest consuming country in the world. 373 million people on a population, and we are the largest consuming people. We die to shop. Our pastime is shopping. We don't know what to do with our money but go spend it on something. that don't bring you a return. This is the idiotic mindset of what we have found ourselves in. We work all week, we bust our tails, and our only outlets is spend money driving your kids to sports events that ain't going to do nothing for them as far as for their future. I've coached city leagues, I've coached high schools, and I have seen poor families spend more money on sports for their children, driving from point A to point B, traveling leagues, hotel expenses, gasoline, food. For what? A pipe dream thinking that your 8, 9, 10, 12, 15-year-old is going to make professional? This is the senseless mindset that we come to. We think that sports is the only way out to make or to have money and be wealthy. I've said this again to the person who said they need $10 million. You don't. When I quit my job or my business, I shut down my business, sold the building, because I asked myself, how much money do I need? When I've already figured out how to use money. Millionaires go broke. There are people, I personally know some of my friends who are millionaires and they work check to check. And it's only because they don't know how to utilize money. And I know when we're in a depressive state, we will tend to go and buy stuff to make us feel good. This is what we do. We want to feel as though that we have reached a bar of success and we want to show off. I can guarantee you probably over 90% of the people out here live their life for others. We care more about how people perceive us, how they want to look at us, want people to think that we have rich, we got money, status, and yet we live miserably. I fear for you all. When I go over to Africa, and so many of the brothers and sisters believe America is the way. They believe it's the truth. If they believe that it's the answer to their prayer to escape a system that they even have there, that they believe has crippled them. And there may be some truths to that, but I have found in my travels in Africa, it is not because Africa is poor. Africa is the richest continent in the world. Even each country, your country may be poor. That don't mean you have to be poor, because your leaders don't even know how to utilize the resources to bring in billions of dollars. You see, when you don't know how to use what is valuable to them, then they will receive from you your hardworking money, and they continue to be richer and you begin to stay poorer. Not until people realize that the little you have, if you know how to grow something, that is the most beneficial thing in how to continue to keep your so-called life going. Not squander up your resources, your check that you get from your job, and you go out and spend it, while all your Gucci, Louis Vuittons, and your logos of expensive clothings and stuff, that these people just love it. They get richer and richer, and yet you up here using credit cards, putting you thousands of dollars in debt, because your ignorance of not knowing how to utilize what you are making. How do you take, and what percentage should you use in order to put aside, never touch, and only use that to go towards something that will bring you money, a return. A house ain't gonna do it. A car ain't gonna do it. Clothes ain't gonna do it. Those depreciate. So this whole lie of what we live in a system that we have gravitated to being identifying with groups. All this protests out here and these fake groups that are rising up. We believe we are affiliated and part of that. You yourself individually need to think about who you are and who you are in this whole concept of this universe. Until then, they have identified who you are, and you will operate in it, and it will be your Achilles heel. It will be your trap until the day you die. Not until you sever that umbilical cord that you will decide that I have to rethink, rewind my mindset, my thinking, and ask myself some hard questions. What the hell am I doing? Which direction am I going? Who am I? Because the world told you and set it all out for you. Your mama, daddy, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, grandmama, granddaddy, all have spoken your life a bunch of lies. Not intentionally, only because they only was patterning after what was given them. You need to go and renew your mindset and really rethink how your life is. How'd you get into the career you're in? How did you select that? How did you select the person you're with? Did somebody, my daughter is dating a guy. I just met him, and I asked her, I said, how did you meet him? She said, through a friend. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But, sometimes you might be, not saying her, but sometimes you might be connected to the wrong person based off of somebody connecting you with somebody. You're going to find most of the things in your life, you never made the choice. You think you made the choice. You see, let me use the LGBT as an example, because that is a perfect example of an organization that can toss a net out there and use the alphabet to gather all of those people who are blinded and don't even know who they are, and they can give you a letter for you to come in, subscribe to, take it, and embrace it, and identify them telling you who you are. You see, they told you who you are. There's a thing called recruiters. Recruiters' jobs is to convince you that you can come be part of a team so that you can be somebody. They will convince you that you should be part or associate with this group so that you can become part of a larger number. This is what they tell you. And all the while your life, you thought you were making choices on your own, and all you did was gravitate to something out here that was already created for you to go into. You didn't come up with the idea to color your hair. You didn't come up with the idea to buy that Mercedes Benz. You didn't come up with the idea to say you were going to be a fraternity or sorority. You didn't come up with the idea of becoming a Mason. You didn't come up with the idea of becoming a Baptist, a Christian, a Muslim, whatever. You did not come up with that idea. That was already set for you to make a choice. You see, and once you decide to be able to detach and be able to unplug and be able to really look at your life. You see, we can spend time in colleges and do homeworks and take tests and exams and quizzes, but we can't stop to be able to grade our own report card. We cannot even have sense enough to lay out my life personally. Who am I? The job I'm in, the person I'm connected with, and then grade it. What would you grade it? And if you're honest, which many people aren't because they have this superficial life they live in. People are living in a bubble. They're blinded. And they actually think they're doing something. Really do. But if you're open and honest with yourself, to look at yourself dead in the mirror, and I'm talking about a literal mirror. I had that experience. To look yourself in the eyes and say, who are you? And look at yourself. Look at everything that you have done or achieved or become. Look at the past 20 years. What have you transformed into? You might have been that innocent little boy or girl, and now look at you. You're a hoochie mama and a thug, based off of music videos, off the TV, and these knuckleheaded people who are in the entertainment industries who you begin to follow. You see, people scream about people who wants to worship the Almighty and stuff like that, but you worship your idols too. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. You praising them. Yeah, yeah. And you're reciting their words and their songs. And you're so caught into them. You watch them on social medias. And you look at everything that they do. And you are so engulfed in their life, you forgot about your own. Isn't this true? Come on, y'all. I fear for you. You see, while I'm headed over to Africa, and in the most simplistic way of life, we think because of advancements and developments and all that there, even though they got it over there, we think we've achieved something. No, you're the worker bee, the servant. You are the one who has created this. With a little compensation of money that they give you in order for themselves to make that much more. So I'm saying here in closing, family, I have a fear for you all in these Western worlds because you don't see it. You don't see the truth of the matter of what really life is about. You don't really see what does it mean when you say a universal law that I can walk into and it will free me from this crazy world's law. It will tear down and it will strip down the identities and the labels I placed upon myself, and I can become a freer being in walking in that sense of a kingdom than this world's kingdom. And I get that many of y'all don't understand that. But my thing is that take a step back, sit in your quiet place without the earbuds, without the TVs and the cell phones. Go into nature. I'm telling you, and I'll say that two more times. You gotta go into nature. You gotta go into nature. Go to the forest, go to the ocean, go to a riverbank, but where it's peace and quiet. And I'm telling you, where there's no distractions is where you're gonna find a lot of answers from the Most High of what you've been looking for. I won't lie to you. You see, this world has created us to be inundated with confusion, with being with interruptions and life issues. Our minds can't be quiet and we just can't sit still. You know, our attention spans as quick as instant as Instagram, as quick as TikTok. You know, think about those. TikTok is a second. Instagram, instant. Everything today is so instant that many people don't even have the patience to wait on even a blessing for that's waiting on you that might be a week, 2 weeks, a year, 3 years, 5 years. Many of us don't even have the endurance to hold tight and be patient enough to let something unfold before you run off and try to start this, go over and get this. Can't even wait to let your business even last 5 years. You'll wait till 1 month. And we are in a society to where it has you ripping and running around and has created a lot of ADHDs to suffer in their own mess. I fear for you. But be of good cheer, because the day came back in October 1994, where this world almost got me. I almost committed suicide, y'all. I almost committed suicide at the age of 28. It wore me down. It beat me up. It wrestled with me. Life issues. But I came to a place in my living room that I screamed out and said, if there's a God, and I don't even like to use that word today, but that's all I knew. If there is a God, help me. But the man you see today is not the man I was back then. That was 29 years ago. And when I understood that this life that is two sides, the yin and yang of life, you can call it good, the bad, the dark, the light, you could call it, the righteous or the unrighteous, you could call it whatever you want to call it. You're going to have to make a decision on what side you want to be part of, a godly kingdom or the world's kingdom. your choice, and it's there. And so I say, brothers and sisters, peace and blessings to each and every one of you all, because I believe that many people who watch my channel and other channels that are trying to bring awareness, open up the eyes, bring a Christ, a higher anointing on you, is when your eyes will be open. So I'll reach out to y'all when I get to my next leg destination before I get to the motherland. I'm out.